Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Apostle in the Making, and we got a special guest that woke up from his nap right before the video. Say hi. Hi, little Willie. Say hi. But this is my son right here. This is my 5-month-year-old. My other one is watching TV right now. This one right here, yeah, he's not gonna be so quiet. So he's in here with me. Does he look like me or he look like his mama? But anyway, you see the title, The Great Christian Debate. So we vote Republican or Democrat, and I think as a Christian, it's important to break down these policies. Not, I don't want to vote for celebrity or pop culture or who's popular. Vote like politics has become like social media almost. I don't care what press you go on. I don't care who you brought on the campaign that's famous. What are your policies and what do you stand for? I don't care if somebody says you should be voting for them because I'm voting for them. Give me your policies. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Somebody else voting for someone shouldn't determine who you should vote for. You know, regardless if they got influence or no influence. All right, in your life or just on social media or a celebrity. But I thought this was a good video with Alan Parr. I'm gonna watch it along with you guys. Review it. I have to put my input in, otherwise it won't be fair use or a review. So I thought this was he broke this down so good. So let's go ahead and watch the video. As one more person on this here. Hi, little Willie. He's gonna be down here if you see his hair. Say hi. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and watch this.
A Christian vote Democrat or Republican. So what I want to do in this video is I want to present to you why some Christians may choose to vote Republican as they have their reasons, and why other Christians who love the same Jesus, own the same Bible, attend the exact same church as Republicans may choose to vote Democrat as they have their reasons as well.
And I think that's a fair point he just brought up. We got this video is 54 minutes long. Don't know if we can get through the whole thing. But my point is there are going to be Christians that vote Republican and are some that vote Democrat. Some that's going to vote for Trump. Some that's going to vote for Vice President Kamala Harris. This is not a game. The only game we should be a part of is the Jesus game. So if you don't be somebody's friend because they voting for Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump, or you don't be somebody's friend or distance yourself from a family member because they're voting for Vice President Kamala Harris, you're the problem. I'm just going to say that. Because this is a democracy. You have the right to vote how you should want to vote. As a Christian, hey, it's some things that I'm disturbed about. I'm voting for President Donald Trump, but there's some things I saw in this video that I'm like, okay, I could vote Democrat on this policy right here if, you know, my big thing he's going to explain it. My big things are two things pointing about me is abortion and the border crisis and the economy, which I think, well, three things, because I think former President Donald Trump did a lot better with the economy. So nothing to do with she's black. I don't care about that. I voted. Let me be frank. I voted for former President Barack Obama because he was black. And now I look at it and that was a silly reason. I should have voted based on policies and not on your skin color. It just is what I don't care who does. If you're black and you do a good job and you do a better job than somebody else, I'm voting for you. If you're white and you do a better job than somebody else and you have better policies and I believe that align with my beliefs, I'm going to vote for you. If you're Chinese and your policies suck, I'm not voting for you. If you're Chinese and your policies are good, I'm going to vote for you. There's no racism here. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to use, oh, I'm black. I don't want that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to vote based on how well you would do as a president and your policies. What are your policies?
What we're gonna do is we're gonna address what I believe are the top 5 main issues that each party stands for and why many Christians, and notice I said Christians, would vote one way or the other. But don't worry, I'm not gonna leave you hanging, because towards the end of this video, I'm gonna share with you where I personally land and how I plan on voting in the upcoming election, along with some very, very practical tips that I want us all to keep in mind as this election season approaches.
And mind you, we're talking to Christians, pretty much.
But before we get into such a triggering issue for some, I really
And let me say this also, just because I'm sharing somebody's video and reviewing doesn't mean I align with everything he's saying biblical too. He doesn't believe in speaking in tongues and, Bible gifts are for the day, deliverance and stuff like that. That's okay. I find ways where and here we agree to disagree, and in some things we can agree. I don't disagree on him with everything. So just because I'm reviewing or posting somebody's video doesn't mean I agree with everything that they say.
Really need to lay down some ground rules and some disclaimers first for a video like this. First and foremost, no political party is perfect. Neither of them reflect a perfect biblical worldview. We need to make that very, very clear, because some people may say, well, if you vote this way, then they're not perfect. And what about this? And what about that? Listen, neither party is perfect. Both parties are flawed. Now, along those same lines, the second disclaimer is,
amen on that. I backed that up. He already said everything I need to. I'm just going to double what he just said. So
that neither person or neither candidate running for president is perfect. And for that reason, I know this is going to make some of you very, very angry, but I am not going to deal with the character of either candidate.
I agree with that 100%, because there's some stuff that you can find on former President Donald Trump that's like, oh, look what he said this and he did this and he did. And there's some things on Vice President Kamala Harris, besides the Jesus thing she just said. It's October 22nd, 2024 about, But other than that, it's some things I can find on Vice President Kamala and be like, he said this and she did this. And what? It's both things you can find and be like, and both can fight. What are your policies?
Although that is a major issue, and that is something that needs to be taken into consideration. And the reason why is because I personally believe that when you vote, you're not just voting for one person, you're voting for potentially hundreds, maybe even thousands of people to go into office and implement a system of policies that align with your personal worldview. And it extends far beyond just one person. And for that reason, I'm taking the character of both of these candidates out of this conversation for this video. Disclaimer number 3 is I am going to be making some generalizations about each party that may or may not reflect the views of every member or every delegate or every person who says they are a part of this party. And it also may not reflect the views of every single person who votes for this party, but rather the general policies and beliefs that this particular party promotes.
That's very true, because it's some people that are Christians, that are apostles and prophets, and they go into they're Republican or they're Democrat. It doesn't mean that every thing, like the Democrat may be, let's just say abortion. Let's just get that out there. You're an apostle and but you're in politics as well, and you're a Democrat. But that doesn't mean that you support abortion. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that are a Republican. Even if you're just a Republican, doesn't mean that you don't. That you're like, okay, I agree with everything, but I don't think that Roe versus Wade should have been overturned. So it's generous, but most of the time you do agree with it. It's just generalization. So
Another disclaimer is that I am not going to try to deal with every single political issue, but I will deal with the main ones. And the reason why I say that is because I know that some of you are going to say, well, hey, Brother Allen, how come you did not deal with this issue or that issue? Why didn't you bring this one up? I'm not going to be able to deal with every single issue in this particular video. I just don't have the time. This video is going to be long enough by itself. Another disclaimer that I really think is important is to remind us all that our salvation is not contingent upon who you vote for and how you vote.
Amen.
Should it impact how we vote? Yes. But listen, I've got news for some of you. Jesus Christ died for Democrats. Jesus Christ died for Republicans. And our salvation, thank the Lord, is not tied to the party that we choose to vote for. And for that reason, you will not hear me, or hopefully nobody, in this particular video demonize someone who may choose to vote differently than we do, similar to this pastor right here.
I'm to the place right now, if you vote Democrat, I don't even want you around this church. You can get out. You can get out, you demon. You can get out, you baby butchering election thief. You cannot be a Christian and vote Democrat in this nation. I don't care how mad that makes you. You get pissed off as you want to. You cannot be a Christian and vote Democrat in this nation. They are God-denying demons that butcher babies and hate this nation. They hate this nation. Get mad all you want to. I don't care if you stand. I don't care if you throw tomatoes, praise God. I'm about to throw a microphone up in his house. CNN can eat my dirty socks. You cannot be a Democrat and a Christian. You cannot. Somebody say amen. The rest of you, get out.
Now, after...
Yeah, and that's why I also disagree with Pastor Greg Locke. And like I said in the beginning of this video, I don't agree with everything Alan Parr has to say. I agree with most of the things that Pastor Greg Locke has said. But at that point, I don't agree. He about one of the best Christian movies out there about deliverance and things like that. Yes, son. You want to look at that? About deliverance, that hope forge deliverance, and what we're doing with dealing with devils and demons and stuff like that. But in that instance, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with the Starbucks thing and stuff like that. But I love Pastor Greg Locke. And would I attend Pastor Greg Locke's church? Yes, I would. But I just don't agree with him on that instance. Just because somebody doesn't agree with you doesn't mean that you can. We're not going to agree on everything. Yes.
After seeing that, the final disclaimer that I have for you is, as you are leaving your comments and you are engaging in this video, please make it respectful.
And that goes for my video too.
If I see any disrespectful comments, I am going to remove them from this particular video, as there is no room for that here. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's start with the Democrats. What are some reasons why a Christian may choose to vote Democrat? Well, the first one we'll just start off with is what I'll call social justice issues. So Democrats typically prioritize addressing systemic inequalities in society, maybe focusing on things like racial justice or criminal justice reform, or addressing issues like poverty, gender equality, LGBTQ plus rights, and economic fairness. Democrats typically would advocate for policies that would promote...
I see nothing wrong with social, conformity or, gender equality. I don't see anything wrong with that. If you know what I'm saying?
I'll talk about that in just a moment. Things that would...
And when I talk about gender equality, I ain't talk about the T letter in the alphabet, if you know what I mean, in the jumbled alphabet, the LGB, the letter at the end that they use.
Protect the marginalized communities and ensure equal access to opportunities and resources for all individuals, regardless of their background. And this is quite obvious that there is scriptural support to support issues of injustice, as well as the importance of caring for the poor. Now, Republicans believe in empowering individuals through personal responsibility and equal opportunities. I'll talk about that in just a moment. But they're all for giving people the tools that you need to succeed on your own, rather than relying on government programs.
And I can agree with both sides. You know, I can see where Democrats want to help people with government programs. I can see Republicans saying these people sometimes, because people take advantage of them. They just be lazy sometimes to take these government programs and just don't do anything with their life. And you have generations upon. I live in New York City. You have generations upon generations not working, not because they're not able to, but they're not working because they know they're going to get Section 8 and they know they're going to get benefits. So they telling their son, you live with me, son, or you live with me, daughter, you better not work or you can't make this much money because we're going to get off. And they literally want to kick them out. Or some don't get married because they say, well, we get married and we join income, then that means I get off Section 8. So I'm not. So I can agree with both because sometimes people do need help. In that. And they need to, like, hey, I really need help. I'm going out, you know what I'm saying? But then some people are using it generationally as I'm just going to stay in the ghetto. And I can get my Section 8, my benefits, and life going to be easy. And we're paying taxes for these people that some do need handouts, but some don't necessarily.
So in other words, a Republican would say, hey, look, we want to make sure that you have what you need so that you can succeed just like others are able to succeed. But we don't believe that the government should get involved and interfere and put money and funding towards making sure that everybody has equal outcomes. So in other words, Republican would say, hey, we believe in equal opportunity, but not equal outcome, which means not every single person that has this opportunity is going to achieve the same outcome. And this is the idea between equity and equality. Equality would mean everybody has the same opportunity. Equity means, hey, let's make sure we give people who need more help or need more assistance the help that they need so that they can possibly succeed in the same way and possibly achieve the same outcome.
And you can see how you can vote. Obviously I'm doing a review. You can go watch the video yourself. But you can see how you can lean towards both. Because in some issues, it's not, just black and white. You got to really look at some issues and be like, okay, this ethnic group needs help, and then there's some things where it's like, okay, well, do they really need help, or do they just need the opportunity, to get, I'm all about, you got the opportunity, everybody should have the opportunity, but do some people just take, it's as you can see, in some ways, in some topics, or even in some issues, I will vote Democrat on this, and then in some issues I will vote Republican, and then it depends sometimes on the individual, especially with their handouts and stuff like that, because some individuals do take advantage. You've seen on TikTok where mothers, I haven't seen any men, but I've seen mothers brag about, oh, I got 6, 7 kids. I think she got caught. She said she was crying. Maybe she's lying. She got caught and said she got 6, 7 kids. Say, oh, well, look at my food stamps. I get $1,000-something on food stamps because I got 7 kids. That person's taking advantage and just was bragging. I'm gonna have one more kid because if I got more, I'm gonna get $300 more. So they are obviously cheating the system. But some people actually need help. Some people do. Some people are taking advantage of that. So it even depends on the individual.
So to be clear, Republicans would say, hey, let's help those who are disenfranchised by creating more jobs. Let's improve the economy so that way people can work an honest job and not have to depend so much on taking a handout from the government. So they would lobby for less government intervention and less government funding typically. And certainly when it comes to things like LGBTQ plus rights and gender equality, Republicans are typically always going to stand for traditional values. I'll talk about that a little bit later when I get to the...
I stand for traditional values. Husband and the wife, we want families back. Because when we don't have families at the foundation, I'm talking about husband and wife right there dynamic. We don't have that. History has shows us nations crumble. So, and it's biblical too. So, it ain't A Man in the Wind. It's not Steve and Adam. It ain't Laura and Lauren. It's, sorry, I'm picking on you, my cousin Lauren. She sees it, she probably won't. But and she don't wrote up. But I'm just saying, you know, like it ain't Emily and Lauren, and it ain't Emily and what's another girl's name? I don't know. You get what I'm saying. I believe in man and woman and biblical values. So
the Republicans. So to be clear, equality means giving everyone the same resources, equal opportunities. That would typically be the Republican position, or what they say is their position. Equity, however, means giving people what they need to succeed, which could lead to equal outcomes. Let me illustrate it for you this way. Imagine a classroom where every student gets the same textbook, hence equality, but some students struggle and need extra help. So with equity, those students would get the additional resources like tutoring or simpler explanations to ensure that they can succeed just like everyone else and possibly achieve the same outcome. Now, let me go on record and say that to some Democrats, this perspective from the Republican Party can come off as straight up insensitive to those who are less fortunate, and essentially send the message, hey, I got mine, I went to school, hey, I got my job, I got my career, I moved up in the world, and so I was able to get mine. I pulled myself up by my own bootstraps, didn't need any help from the government, didn't need to take any handout, and so you need to get your lazy butt up, you need to go to school, you need to apply for a job, and you need to be able to work so that you don't have to depend on the government, so you can have the same outcome and the same success as I did. And my brothers and sisters, like I said, if we present that message, that can oftentimes come off from a Democratic perspective as being very, very rude and insensitive to those who might actually tangibly, realistically need some extra assistance. And the reason why I say that is because not everybody starts on the 50-yard line, right? Let's be honest about it.
If not everybody starts with, you know, if not everybody starts with the father and mother at home, with you know, a one great income that can cover the whole family, or two working people, and not everybody starts like that. So no, go ahead.
There are some in this society who are starting on the 50-yard line, and there are some who are not even in the stadium at all.
They might even.
So yes, it makes sense in certain times throughout our history to ensure that those who aren't even in the stadium, who aren't even playing the game, can at least have the opportunity to win and succeed when others are already starting on the 50-yard line. So this is something that is very, very important that we should not minimize. Now, the second issue that we'll bring up is healthcare. So Democrats typically want to push for healthcare to be available to everyone, and typically want to use government money to ensure that this is possible. They believe that healthcare, universal healthcare, is a human right, that every person should have healthcare. So they would support programs like Medicare and Medicaid and the ACA, which is the Affordable Care Act. Now, the Republican position would generally be, once again, let's create more jobs where people can access health care through their jobs, or save up your own money, put it in an HSA, which is a health savings account, or better yet, remove or reduce government involvement altogether and allow these private insurance companies and businesses to compete for health care, which would drastically lower the price of health care for all people, making it more affordable for everyone. So, hey, it's like, hey, let's remove the government giving people free healthcare, and let's put the power back in the companies and let them fight for people's healthcare and let them compete. And if they do that, then this is going to drastically lower the cost and make it more affordable for everyone.
I can see on both sides with that. I kind of lean more Republican right now, not because of people, you know. I think healthcare should be free at all. I would lean more Republican with this on this side, but overall, I think healthcare should be free, because I do think the government took advantage of COVID. We saw how greedy hospitals were and other places were with some of these cases. When people died, was not COVID. They already had underlying issues, and they said it was COVID. Why? For they can get more money. Dr. Fauci has come out and said we guarantee you wouldn't get COVID. And even President Biden, we guarantee you won't get COVID if you take this shot. People got COVID still. And I think underlying Pfizer and businesses like that, they did take advantage and try to make money. They're more about your money than anything. And this is why with different foods and stuff like that, that we have different standards and stuff. We let more red dye and all these chemicals into our foods other than other countries. Why? Because you know why? They take all that this addictive and poison out of their foods in other countries. Why? Because their healthcare is free. So if people start getting sick, they already they're going to the doctor and why? We pay for our own healthcare. That's why they don't care. I personally believe it's a monopoly, and they only care about money overall than helping people get better. Because they know these stuff in these McDonald's fries and the hamburgers and all of this stuff, they make people sick or make people addicted to it. And then these products are not real. It's made of rubber and stuff like that. They don't, son. They don't. My son says they don't care about us. They even found it in baby food. They don't really care about us, right? I care about my son's health. So overall, I kind of lean towards more Republican to make it more cheaper so they can compete and stuff like that. But then I do see the Democratic side where people are sick. But overall, I think healthcare should be free because they've taken these people who care about, they try to make money off of medicine and stuff like that, and do try to tell you this pill will work. They don't know. They can afford to test on you because you're paying for it overall, and they don't really know if this pill or this one really works and stuff like that.
So basically, they would believe that the government should have less involvement in healthcare and the states should decide this. Now, I don't want to skip past this too quickly because, guys, listen, this is a major, major issue that cannot be and should not be minimized. There are people who have worked their entire lives. They are not lazy. Yep. People like my mom, people like my father, people who have worked their entire lives, and they are dependent on things that the government might be able to provide, whether it is healthcare, whether it's Medicaid, whether it's Medicare, different things like that. This is affecting people's lives and their livelihood. And for that reason, this is a significant issue that we need to consider. Okay, the third issue that I'll bring up is this issue of immigration. And this is obviously one I could have put on either list, but I'll share both positions here. So Democrats and Republicans are both, at least they say they are both for straight up securing the border. That's not the issue. The question is, how do we go about that? What is the best way to secure the border? So Democrats are typically more for wanting to change immigration laws to possibly create a path for undocumented immigrants, especially those who have been brought over as children. Let's create a path for them to possibly become citizens. They want to ensure that immigrants and those who may be fleeing their country because of potential harm are treated kindly and fairly, ensuring that at the very least, their families are intact and not separated from one another, which basically is the idea that, hey, treat someone the way you would want them to treat you. Would you want someone to separate you from your family if you are fleeing from your country because of potential harm and danger? Is that the Christian position? Now, Republicans typically want to secure the border to stop illegal immigration. So they don't necessarily have a problem with people from other countries migrating over to the United States, but they want to ensure that it's done legally. In other words, hey, we need to make sure we know exactly who is coming over to our country. It's not a problem if you're coming over, and this might include perhaps building a physical wall or increasing border patrol to ensure that nobody just straight up sneaks into our country without us knowing exactly who you are and whether you are safe or not for our country. Now, they also may be for enforcing laws to ensure that those who have already come over here illegally are held accountable. And if that means that the family is separated as a last resort so that the law is upheld, then that might be what is necessary to ensure that people do not get the idea that they're able to migrate illegally over here to the United States.
I'm kind of in the middle with it because I kind of see where you can go. You can go from you try to flee from a country, your country that's, but then at the same time, if you people with the border crisis going on right now, people illegally coming in, you're putting more danger in the country on us because most of these people mean well. I say most. I know most of these people that come over here illegally and are crossing the border right now that are not being secured, they mean well. But you got the few bad apples, right. You got the few bad apples, my son, if y'all just... you got the few bad apples, that's his beard, please, that will come over here and mess up everything with drug trafficking, prostitution it's been happening in Queens. They've been talking about it. That because they come from a foreign country, and that's all they know. Making gangs and stuff like that in other cities and stuff like that, taking over apartments. I'm not okay with that. I'm more okay with trying to streamline the process of making sure you are legal. I know the process can take several years, and I think it's too long for that. But coming over here legally and making sure we don't separate families at the same time, yes, I'm for that. I'm not. We want people to come to our country. I want people to come to the United States, but I'm not okay with illegal immigration because it puts people that are coming into this country, people that are already in this country, as we already seen it, into disadvantages. And also, FEMA money they can say right now, FEMA money wasn't used for when the hurricanes happened for immigrants. They said they was going to do it in 2022. It's a video of the person who really speaks out and answers the questions. I forgot her name. But she was saying FEMA money because it's a humanitarian relief, can be used for immigration, for people that's crossing the borders, because this is a crisis. And then when we came to the hurricanes happened in Florida, Georgia, and the southern states. They're asking us for money. What happened with the FEMA money? Because they were using it for. And I don't mind helping people out, but then, you're letting so much in, and then you're also letting in so many people in, and then you're also letting the cartel in. You're also letting people who are dangerous in here, making cities like New York City, Chicago, Detroit unsafe. It's what it is.
Now, once again, to some Democrats, this could come off as being very insensitive, as many of these undocumented immigrants are hardworking, law-abiding citizens that actually help our country and its economy. So once again, this is something that you have to consider is affecting people's lives and their families as we look at the type of laws that we are going to enforce. Okay, number 4 is environmental stewardship. I won't spend much time on this one, but generally speaking, Democrats are more for enforcing government programs to protect the environment, including air, water, and land. Basically, they want to prevent pollution and protect natural habitats. And they feel as though the government should play a huge role in protecting the environment by passing laws that would force companies to follow environmental practices. So Republicans are typically like, hey, you know what? We are also for protecting the environment, but we don't believe that the government needs to create laws or enforce laws to force companies that possibly may have to change how they do business, different people on an everyday basis who are working for these companies. They're going to have to change up how they do things. The companies may not be as productive. And therefore, we trust that every single person is able to be a good steward of our environment without the government having to mandate and get involved and interfere and pass laws that would force companies to do things differently.
I mean, I think in this, I kind of lean more Democrat to make, I don't want to do it so fast because then you affect, but get into, hey, you got 2-3 years because you're harming the environment to get this right, or a year, something like that, or 6 months. I can agree. I can kind of lean towards the Democratic. Give me one moment and I'll be right back. And give me one moment, guys. I'm sorry. All right, guys. Sorry about that. I had to hand the little one to my wife as we go through this.
And number 5, last but not least, would be the issue of education. All right. So let me kind of present the Democratic position on education. Democrats are typically for supporting public education and making higher education more affordable for everybody. They would want to have more funding for public schools. Democrats typically would want to reduce student loan debt or possibly providing free community college, once again, to ensure that everybody has the opportunity to get an education. Now, here's a big one. Many Democrats would advocate for more inclusive curriculum that reflects the diversity of all students, which could include students from non-traditional homes or those who identify as LGBTQ. So they have no problem with the curriculum in these public schools that would see, that your kids would see 2 mothers as parents and adopting children, or 2 fathers as parents, or kids who identify as an opposite gender. All of that should be in the curriculum because it reflects the diversity of all the students in that school. Now, I'll address.
I don't really, kind of in the middle with that, because in the beginning with the college, making college more affordable, or at least forgiving student loan debt at the certain amount of payments and stuff like that, I can agree with that. Because colleges are just being, like they're just being ludicrous with the admissions they're making every year, just going up and up. I can agree with that part. The inclusivity with, making the curriculum, I ain't down for that. I ain't down for teaching my children about LGBTQ, or just like they try to introduce them about, I'm going to say XEX, because I don't want to get off of Facebook or get sent off Facebook or YouTube at a young age, 1, 2, 3. I think we should really, I know we had permission slips when I was in the 6th grade when they tried to teach us XEX ed, so education. So I think parents should have the choice with that, Education is one of the primary reasons why me and my wife will be homeschooling our children, though. So, but I do agree with with forgiving student loan debt, because come on, man, it's getting ridiculous out here. They're profiting off of us every year. It's more and more and more, and are making it more affordable, because college has become more of a business than something that you get an education for, and you can thrive in your careers later on and build a family and seek after the American dream, which many people don't even think is possible, owning a home having 2 cars, having a dog, a backyard, and stuff like that with kids and stuff like that. Many families think it's impossible now, affordable, spacious home after you've worked hard for 5, 10, 15 years, depending on what field that you chose.
The Republican position on education in a little bit. But listen, guys, there are obviously other issues that we could address, like criminal justice reform or advocating for stricter gun control laws to reduce gun violence. But I wanted to focus on the main ones that may cause a Christian to say, hey, these things are very, very important to me, and therefore I want to vote Democrat. So with that being said, let's now move on to the issues that would influence a Christian to vote Republican. And we might as well start off with the big one, okay? We need to spend some time here with this one, so stick with me, and that is the issue of being pro-life. Now, this is perhaps the #1 issue for many Republican voters, but I need to make sure you understand it's not the only one, as we will see. And I say that because oftentimes Republicans are criticized or deemed or characterized as being one-issue voters. You're a one-issue voter, when in actuality, this may be the most important issue, but it's not the only issue, as we are going to see. And let me illustrate it this way, and hopefully this illustration will click for you. I want to take you back to the slavery days, and I want you to suppose that you had one party that said slavery is completely evil. We want to completely abolish this abominable act from the land, but they also wanted to raise taxes and eliminate health care, all right? But you have another party who does a lot of really good things for the community. They do a lot of good things for society. They help the poor. They lower the taxes for the people. They're strong on education, but they have been very public about wanting to promote and enforce as many laws as possible to maintain slavery and even make it more prevalent. As a matter of fact, they believe that the government should not get involved in matters of slavery and that every human being should have the choice to own slaves. It's not our place to regulate that. We will even fund programs to make it easier for anyone who wants to own slaves to do so. Now, my brothers and sisters, would you say to yourself, well, they really do stand for a lot of good things for the community, so I'll overlook their desire to enslave people? Or would that one issue of slavery outweigh all of the good things that party represents because it goes against the very will of God for his people, and it goes directly against a Christian worldview? I want to make the argument that if that illustrates...
it would for me. Let you do good things, but I'm over here trying to talk about owning slaves just a God-given right. No, you do good things, but I don't, I will vote for the other side if they're against owning slaves. So.
Does not resonate with you. It's probably because you see slavery as something that would directly affect you, particularly if you are an American, or excuse me, an African American in this country. But you don't see abortion in the same way because you don't believe it directly affects you.
Yeah.
My brothers and sisters, I want to encourage you to give that some consideration as you cast your vote. Why? Because I believe that the issue of abortion is an even greater issue than the issue of slavery. Now, as I address this, it's important for us all to keep in mind that there is a wide spectrum when it comes to being pro-life.
And that's a wild statement to make that I believe abortion is even a greater issue than slavery. And guess what? I actually agree. Because you're not only owning a slave, whipping him and beating. I'm African American, I'm black. But killing somebody is on a whole different level. You're killing someone in the womb. You might not see it like that. You don't think that's a baby in the womb. But God says, I knew you when I told Jeremiah, I formed you in the womb and I knew you. I was formed. So God is someone that's forming a child in the womb. Every child. So saying I have the right to murder this baby, and it's murder, it just is what it is worse to me than owning a slave and me. Now, owning slaves is wrong and cruel. It should never happen. Only like the way that we can get into historical context and stuff like that, but the way in America they were whooping and beating, no way. No way. So I'm not taking that lightly when I say abortion is even more grotesque. You're killing an innocent child. That didn't have a chance to live because you want to live the way you want to live. That's just me, and I think both are grotesque, but I think abortion is even more. That's just my biblical worldview as I look at the Bible.
Some people like me, and I'll just go on record and give you my position, I'm completely on the extreme, and I believe that there are no legitimate reasons whatsoever for a woman to terminate a pregnancy other than if her life is in danger. Why do I prioritize that? Because I believe that God prioritized the institution of marriage above the institution of parenthood. And so if I have to choose between my wife and this child, I'm going to choose my wife all of the time. Now, once again, I know some of you see things differently. I'm probably going to do a separate video where I explain and debunk all of the different excuses and justifications as it relates to abortions. But there are some people that are really, really on the extreme, and that's me. And then there are other people that say, hey, a woman should have the right to be able to abort a child for any reason at any time, regardless, right? And so you have to keep in mind that there is a wide spectrum here. But generally speaking, Republicans are typically way more pro-life than Democrats are. How do we know? Because they want to absolutely ban late-term abortions. They want to stop government programs that would fund organizations like Planned Parenthood that basically make it easier and quote-unquote safer, if you will, as if there's something as a safe abortion.
There's no such thing as safe abortion. Even the abortion pill, they hide stories like what people are bleeding for months or a year or two after the abortion pill. That's not natural. That's not natural. Are people who had their bodies affected after women who had their body, not even people, because women can only have babies, so women can only have abortions. But women who have abortions can no longer have children because they've had so many abortions, and then they didn't, because your body's not supposed to go through that. It's not supposed to. And then also, how many women are affected mentally and emotionally after the guilt of, I wonder what my child would have been like if it would have worked out, and all that, and the guilt, and whether you are a Christian or not. I worked for crisis pregnancy, volunteered before, and the story and even in ministry, when I minister to people, where some women and men are like, what would have happened? And I feel like I don't know, and what if we would have trusted God, and the guilt. People don't talk about the psychological warfare that goes on with that.
Want to ban organizations like this. They encourage alternatives to abortion like adoption or supporting pregnant women through like a crisis pregnancy center. They see abortion, and rightfully so, just as I do, as the murder of an innocent unborn child. My brothers and sisters, I want to direct your attention to this photo right here. And as you can see this baby's hand at 21 weeks old. I'm not sure how you or anyone who calls themselves a humane person, and worse than that, you call yourself a Christian. You call yourself a Christian, and you can look at this photo and not see this as being absolutely an abomination to God. And you believe it's okay for a woman to be able to have the choice to murder an unborn child. Now, the Democratic Party is on the complete opposite end of the spectrum here. And once again, when I say Democrats, I'm not saying everyone who votes Democrat feels this way. I say that because I would argue that a large number of Democrats are not at all in favor of abortion, but they vote Democrat for the reasons I stated earlier.
Right.
I'm merely referring to the policies that the Democratic Party that they vote for want to advocate for and promote.
That's my big thing. This is why I don't agree. You know, Pastor Greg Locke in the beginning of the video. This is why I don't agree. Oh, if you vote for Republican, if you vote Democrat, you are a demon. It's other reasons people may vote Democrat. It's other reasons people may vote for Kamala Harris. Other than the LGBTQ issue, or the abortion issue. It's other reasons they might vote for that way. All right? This is why we live in a democracy. Jesus is king, not Donald Trump or Kamala Harris or the Democratic or Republican Party. Jesus is king. All right? So somebody might vote Democrat and say, you know what, I don't really believe in an abortion. And in fact, I hate abortion, but I agree with some of the policies Democrats some of these policies they do have. So I'm gonna vote here and pray and just kind of. I hate to do it, but this is what I and they might be somebody that depend like on Medicare or Medicaid or something like that. And they may fear that, okay, if I vote President Donald Trump in, I'm taking care of my parents right now. If we don't have Medicaid and Medicare, I don't have enough money. So I would hate to vote for Vice President Kamala Harris. But if you're telling me, and I don't believe in abortion, but if you're telling me Donald Trump may, Republicans may take away health care for my elderly mom and dad that I'm taking care of, I'm sorry, but I have to vote Democrat, or I'm voting for Vice President Kamala on it because of this issue. Can you see why you I'm just saying.
And this is not a subjective thing. These are facts. And the problem is that you have liberal Democrats who are in favor of abortion. Then you have more conservative Democrats who are not necessarily in favor of abortion, but still vote for the party that is in favor of it, resulting in less of a chance to see this abominable practice eliminated from our country.
And you can, and again, we can, no party is perfect. Donald Trump is not. I'm voting for former President Trump. He is not perfect, and he is not Jesus. Does not mean I see former President Trump as Jesus and it's gonna save me. Oh, we got a lot of work to do. Whoever's in office, just because you vote for Vice President Kamala Harris does not mean that you see her as Jesus. Does not mean that you, oh man, what she said about Jesus was blasphemy. I did the video today about, oh, you're in the wrong crowd. But I cannot, because of the healthcare issue, because educational issues, the education issue, I cannot vote for, I do not want to vote for former President Donald Trump. This is why it cannot be black and white. Oh, you voting, you're of the devil. I cannot, because there's more issues that go down there, and think about it, and that you have to think about. Oh, sorry, I muted it.
About her own our country. So Democrats would make the argument that a woman has the right to make decisions about her own body, including the choice to have an abortion. Guess what? I agree. A woman should have the right to make decisions about her own body. The problem is that that child is not a body part. How do you know? Because they weren't born with that child. Body parts are things you were born with. Your hands, your ears, your fingers, your feet, your nose, your eyes. You were born with those. You could do whatever you want with that. But just because God has allowed you to house a child for a particular time does not mean that that child is a body part. That child is not a part of your body. That child is its own body and therefore has its own set of rights that you, my brother or sister, do not have the right to step in and play God and make decisions and for a child that is not able to advocate for their own rights. So Democrats would be for Roe versus Wade. They believe in making it easier for women to access safe and legal abortions. They support government funding for organizations like Planned Parenthood that provide reproductive health services, including abortions. And when you
I must skip some because I think he's gonna go on for a couple more minutes, but I think we got his point. So.
Okay, the next one is religious freedom. So Republicans would strongly support the idea of religious freedom, the idea that everyone should have the right to freely practice and express their religious beliefs without any interference from the government. In other words, you should be able to be free to express your faith publicly, whether in schools, workplaces, public spaces, etc. Now, let me illustrate it for you this way. Suppose you are a business owner who owns a wedding service company, like, let's say, a bakery or a photography studio or even an event venue. Now, let's look at the two different perspectives on religious freedom in the context of same-sex marriage. So Republicans would believe that your religious convictions are fundamental to how you run your business. So if your faith teaches that marriage is between a man and a woman, you may feel that providing services for a same-sex wedding, which there's no such thing, we'll call it a same-sex union, a civil union, because we cannot redefine what a wedding is. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. But this would go against your deeply held beliefs. And from this viewpoint, being forced to participate in or support a same-sex civil union by offering your services could be seen as a violation of your religious freedom. So you might argue that as a business owner, you should have the right to decline services that would conflict with your religious values without fear of facing legal repercussions or accusations of being discriminatory. This perspective emphasizes the importance of protecting your ability to practice your religion even in your business decisions.
Because I want to tell you, if I got saved when I was in high school, middle school, my mom and dad, stepdad, and I had a problem. Because I would have had my Bible. I don't care who was going to tell me not to bring my Bible. I was going to bring my Bible. I was going to talk about Jesus. If I was saved, they were going to have problems. I'm like, I'm not going to shut up about Jesus. I'm going to talk about Jesus. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to bring my Bible. If I want to read my Bible out here and nobody, like, so they can share their faith. I don't care. I just want to talk about Jesus. I'm going to talk about Jesus. You're not going to tell me shut up about Jesus. All right?
Now, on the other hand, the Democratic position might say, hey, you believe that while your personal religious beliefs are important, if you're running a public business, that means you should serve all customers equally, regardless of their sexual orientation. And if a same-sex couple comes to you for wedding services, you might feel that it's your responsibility to treat them the same as you would any other couple. From this perspective, refusing to provide services could be seen as discriminatory or harmful, and ensuring that everyone has equal access to your services should take priority. And this is the view that suggests that religious freedom, now notice this once again, religious freedom doesn't extend to actions that might deny others their right or reinforce inequality, especially in a business that is open to the public. So to sum this one up, Republicans basically focus on the right to act according to your religious beliefs, while the Democratic Party emphasizes the importance of non-discrimination and equal treatment in the marketplace. In other words, hey, you can do whatever you want in your business with your religious beliefs as long as it doesn't result in discriminating against others.
I definitely agree with the Republican on that side. As long as it's for religious beliefs, that it is what it is. Other than that, no racism, no gender stuff and all that stuff. Yeah, but don't impose on my religious beliefs because you want. Listen, I don't believe in that. All right, I believe in the Word of God and I stand on the Bible. Don't force me to do nothing. You ain't forcing me. I'm gonna speak up.
Democrats are typically for supporting. Okay, let's deal with the third one, and this is a huge one, and I'm going to just call this one moral and family issues. I'm going to kind of lump them both together. So Republicans generally emphasize the importance of the traditional family structure, which they define as a household with a married mother and father raising their biological or adopted children. They believe this structure is the foundation of a stable society and is associated with positive outcomes for children and communities. So Republicans would often advocate for policies that support marriage, opposite sex marriage, right? Parental rights and family values, and they typically oppose efforts to redefine marriage to include same-sex couples. They also emphasize the role of traditional families in teaching values, morals, and social stability. Look, this is very, very important. It is a satanic and demonic agenda that is seeking to try to redefine what God has created to be marriage. God brought Adam and Eve together, created them both. And he says, Jesus said what? He says, a man must leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. I didn't make up the rules. You didn't make up the rules. God did at creation.
I'm saying, that's all we saying. God made the rules. I ain't make no, even when I don't like it, I'm going to follow, look, I'm going to follow the Bible.
And for us to have the audacity to try to redefine what marriage is and what marriage says simply because it's more consistent with the norms and standards of our culture is a demonic and satanic agenda.
That's very true. I'm going to try to skip some more and get to the other two reasons.
And harassment. Okay, let's move on from there. Number 4 is school choice. Now, I need to make this one very, very clear. This is not a spiritual issue like the others, like the traditional family and transitioning children and the right to life. This is more of a social issue, but one that is important to many, so I wanted to cover it here. Republicans generally are for parents having the option to send their children to schools outside of where they may be zoned, whether it's a private school, whether it's a public school, charter school, or homeschool. And the argument is that parents know what is best for their children. Yeah. And one of the reasons for this is that it will hopefully encourage a healthy competition among schools. Think about it. If a public school has many of their students opting out of that school to attend another school, maybe because the things that they're teaching there don't align with their religious worldviews, or maybe the education is just not good. Let's be honest about it, right? Then they feel like, hey, you know what? This could create some positive, healthy competition, thus raising the bar and forcing some of these public schools to increase their education and their rigor so that maybe people will choose to attend that particular school. So the idea here is, hey, Republicans would feel as though we know what's best for our children, and therefore we want to be able to have that right. Let me give you an example, illustration. Let's just say that you are a Christian parent and you're zoned for a school that is not that good educationally, or they also teaching or liberal things that don't align with your Christian worldview. As a parent, you would want to have the right to say, you know what, I know I'm zoned over here, but I want to send my child to possibly a private school. The problem is I don't have the money to do that. But what if there was government funding that would allow me as a parent to make the decision to send my child to whatever school I believe aligns more closely with our.
And I agree with that. I agree with. I want to homeschool. You know, Democrats may be like, no, we need to teach. You know, what I'm saying, like, we all need to be uniform, stuff like that. Nah, I ain't teaching I'm not teaching my children how to be like Romans. I want them to teach them how to be like Christ. You know?
Etc. Now, the 5th and final reason in this video that I believe a Christian would vote Republican is what I'll call judicial appointments. And so typically Republicans want to appoint conservative judges that will interpret the Constitution based on its original meaning, which would focus more on traditional family values, gun rights, religious freedom, etc. Now, the Democratic Party typically would want to appoint judges that are much more liberal in how they interpret laws. Notice this, passed by the Congress. Instead of simply wanting to stick to the Constitution, it's much more about interpreting the Constitution in a way that adapts to modern society in a much more progressive way. In other words, hey, you know what? Hey, yes, the Constitution says this, but what does that mean for today? How might that be adapted or applied in today's context, which obviously could result in laws that are very, very different than what the Constitution originally intended.
And let's be real. I've done studies on that, but the Bible, I mean, the Constitution and the country was founded on biblical beliefs. They try to say it wasn't and all that to try to, but it was. So when you go to the Constitution, things like that. So my son is calling my name, but we got the 5 reasons for Democratic and we got the 5 reasons for Republican. Who are you going to vote for? And also, I just want to put this information out there for people who can see and vote the way they want to vote, you know. And some of you may, a Democratic issue may be so big that you won't vote Republican, but you don't agree with everything the Democrat Party agree on, you know, or Republican. You may vote Republican, but you may be like, I don't agree everything what they do, you know. And I agree with some of them, but this issue is more, you know, like abortion and stuff like that. Or you may be like, healthcare is more. For me, I can't, you know. So I can see on both sides where you can. Who are you gonna vote for? It's okay to discuss in the comments. Please don't be rude. I will delete rude comments and offensive comments. I don't care who you're voting for. Like I said, I'm voting for former President Trump. But if you start cussing and calling people the B word and the names such as that, because you vote for Vice President Kamala, I'm deleting those comments. No hate speech on both sides. All right, I don't play games like that, you know. So I'm able to ignore it because I know what comes with voicing your opinion on social media. But I will protect others as if you're bashing people and calling them names, calling them devils or demons because you're voting. Just disagree to disagree and still love each other. Love your neighbor as you would love yourself. If you disagree with them, how would you want somebody to love you if they disagree with you? Think about that. All right, guys. I love you. I know this was a long video. I usually don't try to do long videos like that, but I thought this was very important as we come to the election as well to give you options. And if you want to watch the video individually, just type in Island Power Voting and you can watch it as well. All right, guys, I love you. Take care. God bless you.